Welcome to Monday Mornings with Michelle, the new business podcast. Whether you're kicking off your day or kickstarting your business, Michelle is going to kick your ass into next week with the essential fours: strategy, systems, support, and state of mind. Now, welcome to center stage, Michelle Nedelec.
Hey there, peeps. This is Michelle Nedelec, and I'm super excited to have you here today. You are going to be thrilled with the information that I have for you today. I have my awesome guest, Mitch Levy, who is what I'm going to say is a premier adversary on influence. Do I have that right?
You could say that.
Awesome. Welcome. Thank you for coming. I appreciate your time.
I say global credibility expert, and so we'll start off. I typically use Mitchell, and the last name is Levy.
Thank you.
But as long as you call me anything, I'm okay. Just as my wife would say, don't call me late for dinner.
That's the weight of man's heart is through his stomach. We get that one. So give us the 5,000-foot view: who you are, what you do, how you like to phrase it.
So I have a very simple purpose of what I'm focused on at the moment. I call it my CPoP, my customer point of pain, and you all need to know yours. And for me, it's simple. It's humans that want to be seen as credible. So what does that actually mean? We live in a world where there's everyone who has a camera and a microphone, which is everyone in the world, has the opportunity to speak and broadcast them. Now, if you've done a good job and you're listening to this show and you're running a business that's doing well, making money and scaling, then what happens is you got to figure out how can you best use your talents, your skills, your ability for people to know, like, and trust you, and not only yours, but those of those on the team. And so what I'm focused on is helping understand what is the definition of credibility. How do we actually present ourselves in the right way? Some of the tool sets I have are books. We have a done for you book service. We have a course on LinkedIn. What I'm really excited about is I'm actually wrapping up interviewing 500 thought leaders on credibility. As of this week, finished 465.
Wow.
And so what's really cool is, I know that is a really big wow. It's a fun project. And what's really cool is helping people articulate who they are in such a way that, and this is one of the new products that we've just created, it's called a credibility scissor reel, or cred reel. And in 6 to 8 minutes, can you demonstrate your credibility? And the answer, of course, is yes. And that's what we've been working on, because, when you on any particular piece of marketing, and by the way, everything you do is marketing, everything you do is sales. So any particular piece of marketing, the goal is not to actually close right then and there. The goal is always to build and reinforce trust, know, respect. And so the goal of what you need to do in anything is to help establish and push that credibility along. So short answer, book publisher, have published over 850 books, sat on the board of a public company for a decade, ran 4 different CEO networking groups for a decade, started 20 companies in Silicon Valley. All that stuff is okay. It's all been fun, right? Really great stuff. But what's important is, who am I today? And it's simply that person who is helping to find what are the fun things we should be doing moving forward to be more successful, not just as business owners, but as humans, because to me, there is now no separation between who you are in terms of what you do for work. And if you could have fun doing what you do for work, there's no separation between you in terms of what you do for work and what you do with the rest of your life.
Nice. So who would you say is your ideal client in this particular endeavor that you're doing?
It turns out that your and my audience is 100% overlap, right?
Nice.
And so what I've decided to do is go very, very horizontal. So what I'll say is, for the client for books, the done for you book publishing service, it's the recognition from a firm or a CEO that says, hey, listen, I need more credibility. I need to demonstrate that I'm an expert on a particular area. And so the book business is simply 4 months from today, 10 hours of your time, I'll make you an Amazon best-selling author. Right? And so what happens is I'll do a 3-hour interview to pull your genius. What comes out of that is my team ghostwrites. We produce books in hardcover, paperback, Audible. The Audible comes 3 months after that. The Kindle, we make you an Amazon best-selling author. What's fun about what we do is that we print books with color on the inside. We also, as part of the exercise, we create QR codes that point to a video of you talking about who you are. Because what happens is there are many ways in which people will get to know, like, and trust you. We produce content which is 140 bite-sized quotes so that you now have a social media calendar and social media to share. So the audience, a direct overlap on our audience are people who want books. Additionally, if you think about you and your team, and if you have on your webpage an About Us page, and the About Us has more than just you as CEO. If it's just you, that's fine. But if it has other people, that image, that's a static image. And then there's this bio underneath it, which is typically boring stuff like I did this and I did that and we did that. Now, some people have some great bios. That second product I talked about, the credibility scissor reel, cred reel. So imagine instead of having that picture, there's now a video. And that video is simply 6 to 8 minutes. Actually, one of my favorites we did is 4 minutes long. A guy by the name of Scott Besser. And 4 minutes, you get to know, like, and trust him. Absolutely killer. And so that's the second product. And that goes well beyond. But for your audience, it's a very good fit. And then the thing I'm in a soft launch of at the moment is a course on how to put credibility into your LinkedIn profile. So it's a half-hour course, and sorry, I take that back. It's an hour course. Where the half hour came from, who knows? So it's an hour course, and I guarantee that it will completely change the way you look at your LinkedIn profile forever. And it's one of those beautiful things. And Michelle, can I tell you a teeny story?
Absolutely, please do.
So this is the first book ever published for LinkedIn. Take a look at the price. It's $69.95. And I normally get that like, wow, how did you do that? So LinkedIn was founded in 2002. In 2006, before LinkedIn was making money, I was commissioned by 2 of the 3 founders of LinkedIn to write and publish their first book. So I'm sitting in the room with Konstantin Gerlich and Reid Hoffman, and Reid goes, Mitchell, what should we write on? And I said, hey guys, LinkedIn is so cool. There's so many things you're doing. Where do you think you're going to make money first? Now, this is during the ages where there's so many beautiful things happening, but it wasn't clear. And they go, this LinkedIn job posting, we think this is going to be great. I go, perfect. What are you going to charge for it? At the time, they were going to charge $70. I goes, fantastic. Can your engineers give me a link that when somebody goes to that link, they could register and get a free LinkedIn job posting? They said, yes. I said, okay, here's what the title of the book should be. Let's create a book called Happy About LinkedIn for Recruiting. Let's charge the amount of money, $70 for a LinkedIn job posting, and give a free LinkedIn job posting for out there. And they go, great. So we published the book. It started selling. And then the really cool part is demand for the LinkedIn job posting was so strong, they increased the price from 70 to 180. But you could still get the book for $69.95 and get a free LinkedIn job posting. And so since then, I've looked at 100,000 LinkedIn job postings or 100,000 LinkedIn profiles. I probably looked at one LinkedIn job posting. Probably shouldn't say that. And then
we got you.
And what's really interesting, though, is what I love doing, Michelle, is that interview. It's that when I do an interview for the Credibility Series, it's to actually see somebody, to see somebody's credibility. You actually have to know, like, and trust them. And to be able to do that, it's not the superficial stuff. And what's amazing, generally speaking, is how robust so many people are. That somebody who's a client of yours, by definition, they're doing cool stuff. They're cool people. Otherwise, hopefully you don't take them on as clients, right? So And then I look at their LinkedIn profile and it's so two-dimensional, so boring. And so that was the impetus to drive a course. And and so I did a good job on the videos. My team did a spectacular job of pulling the course together. And so it's 1 hour, and the guarantee is if it doesn't change your doesn't change your mindset towards LinkedIn for the rest of your life, you can get your money back.
Wow. So that's awesome. So while we're on it, how do people access that?
So it's one of the fourth things that's coming out now is a membership community called Credibility Nation. And so I have one course in there at the moment. I've got 16 defined. I've shot my second course, and I'm inviting people who I actually know, like, and trust to join me. So that's at credibilitynation.com. And if you went there, you can navigate to the course LinkedIn, or if you went to credibilitynation.com/courses/LinkedIn, you'll be able to get there directly. And what I'll be happy to do, Michelle, is so depending on when you see this, okay, and I'll probably keep the special for launch for a little bit longer than I should. But I'm experimenting at the moment with different copy, different approaches. And so the course itself is $197. And if you use the coupon code special, the number 4 launch, it will reduce the price of the course by $100.
Nice.
And so for $97, it's a 1 hour course, and with the guarantee. And I would say 99.5% of the population of LinkedIn users. So when you said, what's your audience? I don't want to say like billions of people, but in essence, if you're on LinkedIn and you're running a business and your LinkedIn profile sucks or it's not as good as it needs to be, guess what?
There's always room for improvement. So yes, absolutely, people. It would be silly of you not to go and do that, because I mean, you make one sale and you've got that back. So, and it's almost irrelevant what products you sell. You can make that back by having a half decent improvement on your LinkedIn, let alone an awesome one. So I'm going to go back to an interesting thing that happened at the beginning of this podcast, which you guys may or may not know, but we were talking about credibility and influence. And Mitchell says to me, it's all about being able to say a person's name properly. And then, of course, I go into the show, say it improperly completely, 100%. And it's like, the fascinating part of that to me is that even though, I don't think of myself as being non-influential or non-credible. However, you're right. It is these little things that happen that we, as an individual, don't notice, because we're like, hey, I'm a rock star. I'm doing awesome. This is great. And it's like, no, actually, you got this whole thing going on over here. You could really work on that. So give us some other examples, particularly with LinkedIn profiles, of what are just some of the little things that, or what's one little thing that somebody might not notice on their own LinkedIn profile that's killing them.
Oh, absolutely. And by the way, do I have permission to share a screen?
Absolutely. I'm hoping
do you mind if I do that just for a second?
You may be able to do it. I'm having little tech issues, which is kind of funny for a tech company. Hey, there you go.
All right.
Awesome.
So one of the guys I interviewed, and I'm going to answer your question directly, but I'm going to give you a different answer first and then come back to your question. Just to be, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
So
you go right ahead.
I was interviewing David Meerman Scott. He's the guy who invented the word newsjacking, and amazing guy. I said, David, how do I get my brand out there around the globe for credibility? And he goes, invent a word. And actually in that particular case, the word that I came up with is cred dust. And cred dust is that sparkle that happens for both you and the other person when you share somebody else's credibility. And I said, David, I just don't know if I want to use 1D or 2. And so my goal at the moment with the research, I've got 10 or 20 words I want to get into the Oxford Dictionary. I will redefine the word credibility because it's only 1/3 accurate. And I decided just to create my own dictionary page. And so here, this is pretty cool. Cred dust. Okay. So with that pretext, let's go back to crud. crud is that thing you do that's not necessarily bad, but hurts your credibility a little bit. Now, what we did at the beginning of the interview, when you mispronounce somebody's name or you shorten it versus long and somebody says, that's never a problem. That banter that goes back and forth, like if I said, this is how you say it, and you go, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And like, if you let that bother you, that would be bad. But the fact that, I mean, I mispronounce at least 30% of the names. The cred reels I create, I've told my team to just sort of blooper them live just so it, because, you know, we're human, you know, humans make mistakes. And so what's interesting to me when I'm thinking about crud, the best way the best analogy I could share is, so you can go to creddust.com or credcrud.com just to see the definitions. And the best thing I could say, crud is like plaque. So if you have a little bit of plaque on your teeth, you may or may not get cavities. But as you get more plaque on your teeth, the inevitable is going to happen. So if you have on your website or on your LinkedIn profile, crud, any one particular thing isn't necessarily bad, but you keep piling those up. So on your website, and then I'll come back to your question specifically for LinkedIn. My favorite on your website is you go to the bottom of your web page and the copyright date is done wrong, or it has an old date to it. Particularly, sorry, pet peeve, if you're a publisher and you have done the copyright thing wrong, how could you possibly expect me, only because this is what I look for, to want to trust you that you're going to deal with my content properly? It just, that one even has more weight for who you are. On LinkedIn, the biggest piece of crud people do is they treat LinkedIn like a online resume. It is not, right? It is not a two-dimensional object. For those that don't know, you can include incremental videos on your LinkedIn profile. You can and should be optimizing your LinkedIn profile around what's important to you. And so let me tell you what I believe is most important to anyone who's in business today. And it comes down to one of the other terms that I've defined as CPoP, customer point of pain. And so a good CPoP is 1 to 10 words, 1 to 3 seconds, shareable, memorable, and begs the question, tell me more. So if I go to your LinkedIn profile and I can't figure out who you are, then that's bad. That's actually not only crud, that may be enough. I'm like, because we have so many choices. If my decision was, okay, it's time for me to scale and automate my system in such a way, and I look at you and Brad and I look at 9 other people, one of the criteria I'm going to look at is what does your website look like? What do your LinkedIn profiles look like? And if there's enough crud anywhere, and my job is, once I come up to 10, is to narrow it down to 3, the more crud you have, the better chance. So if I can't figure out who you are, so let's say your job really is to optimize and improve systems and install the type of systems in place that allow people to scale more. And they go to your LinkedIn profile and it says, and the picture on the profile is you knitting stuff and you're talking about sweaters. Well, that may be very cool, but that's not reinforcing why I should do business with you for what you do. So if you're thinking about your CPoP, and you heard mine, it's simply humans that want to be seen as credible, right? So what is that CPoP you solve? And when you look at your LinkedIn profile, you want to create a profile that is search engine optimized for your CPoP. Everything you do needs to reinforce those messaging. So the first thing that happens when I look at a LinkedIn profile is that first impression is the picture of you. By the way, if there's no picture of you, that's not just crud, that is cred bomb. You're gone, right? No picture of you. I don't connect with you. I'm not interested at all. So you need a picture of you. The next thing is you want that headline, that tagline, that actually needs to incorporate your CPoP. So I know immediately that what you do and what pain point you solve. And it could have other things as well, but I want to make sure that's there. And there's a picture behind LinkedIn. So that's a lot of people keep the default picture. Once again, that's a little bit of cred if you've not gone ahead and put a picture. Now, if you think about what's the picture behind there, it should also reinforce your CPoP. Now, the next thing I do is I then go to the bottom of a LinkedIn profile. And one of the things that it says is things that you're endorsed for. And if you have over a couple thousand connections, and by the way, if your job is to help entrepreneurs be successful and they go to your LinkedIn profile and you have 35 connections or less than 500 connections, cred. If I then look at the endorsements at the bottom, and what happens, you have control of what there are many things that people can endorse you for. You have control of the 3 things that show up. Those 3 things need to reinforce your tagline, needs to reinforce your CPoP. So if I go down to the bottom and it says PowerPoint, Word, and that's not what you're doing, that's not your CPoP, cred, right? If you have such a minimal number of people there. So the people who I look at as fake profiles, gorgeous picture, 10,000 connections, and I look at their endorsements at the bottom and it's 5, there's something wrong there, right? It just doesn't add up. And so, so the course actually goes through the components of how I look at a LinkedIn profile and components that need to be reinforced. And it's one of those things. So by the way, here's the bad news. One of the feedbacks I got from one of the first users was, Mitchell, I used to spend just 10 seconds looking at a LinkedIn profile, and now I'm spending 20 because I'm now looking at this endorsement area, and it's so fascinating that some people don't reinforce it, and I can't believe you did that to me. And so, listen, you may pick up things from the course that make you spend a little bit more time. What I will tell you, it will absolutely make you much more informed in terms of what a LinkedIn profile should look like.
Nice. So can you give us an example of one of your Cinderella stories?
In LinkedIn profiles or in something else?
Whichever you like.
Oh, well, there are many. So we'll just say, generally speaking, what will happen with your LinkedIn profile is you should take a snapshot of it before, and particularly the snapshot of how many people visit your LinkedIn profile based on what you've done. Generally speaking, I've seen 2 and 3x the number of people who now find you on LinkedIn and get to your profile. And it's just because you've optimized yourself successfully. I think the Cinderella story on the book side is, and I want to say that it's not just about having a book, right? A book, like anything, like you can go ahead and get a PhD. That's great. If you don't tell anyone, it doesn't mean anything. If you get a PhD in a field that's completely outside the field you work in, well, it's nice to have that PhD or doctor, but it's not as relevant, right? So if you're going to do a book, you shouldn't do a book just because you can. You should do a book because it reinforces your CPoP, right? I just be very, very simple, very concrete. What that asset called a book is that thing that says, oh, that person is expert in this area. And so my favorite story is generally, I was just say are in general, but there's a person I'm thinking through that when he first came to me, he came to me with this like 1,000-ton weight on his shoulder. My marketing person told me I have to do a book so we could charge more on speaking and get more business. I go, okay. And he gave me the title of the book. And the title was basically a summary of his podcast. He goes, what do you think? Now, by the way, when you're working with me, I'm very transparent. I'm like, well, I actually think it sucks, but here's what we'll do. If you and I spend an hour together talking about what makes sense for you going forward, and we still believe that that's the right title, then I'm going to tell you I like it. Because, everything's in context. I have to tell you, we recently published his first book. He's completely transformed his business to focus on, and the book is now focused on his business, but he's given optimized cues to his business, and it's changed based on the book, which is even cooler. And he said partway through the process, Mitchell, I got books two to four done. And then recently he came back and said, let me tell you what we have to do first. And he has that next generation book that we're actually going to work on together that focuses on helping to transform the industry he fits in. Those are beautiful stories when people recognize that whether it's the platform you're using behind the scenes, whether it's any social media you're using, whether it's physical meetings or speaking, that everything you do reinforces everything else you do. And it's a complete holistic system. And so my favorite stories are simply that I've touched somebody once and all of a sudden it's transformed everything. And so that's my goal in terms of putting out credibility pieces in different formats. Like a $97 product is such a no-brainer. We're working on something that will be $47 and I may use as a lead magnet. It's how to create your CPoP, right? So that's the next video I shot. And I like putting these tools in place because when people go, aha, I get it, it changes everything.
Nice. I love that. And it totally reinforces the importance of a strategy versus tactic approach to, I get it, you want to write a book for credibility, but what's the strategy behind it? And without that strategy, it's just totally useless waste of time. Love, love, love that. Cool. So one question for you. At what point in your life did you know that you were a special kind of crazy enough to think that you could become a successful entrepreneur? Or just an entrepreneur in general?
Yeah. 1997. I've been in Silicon Valley now for 35 years. I was working for Sun Microsystems. I was running the e-commerce component of Sun Supply Chain, which was at the time $3.5 billion. And it was the dot-com days. And there was just too much excitement out there. And so I basically left Sun, hung up my shingle and said, hey, I'm a e-commerce consultant helping companies figure out how to use this funny thing called the internet. And here's the trick I want to mention to people. What happens when you're going through life is almost every day somebody gives you a gift. And if your lenses are closed, you're not going to see that gift. You're not going to receive it. You're not going to be able to do anything with it. And so I went to about 20 or 30 of my friends, I hung up my hat. I'm a strategic consultant focused on e-commerce. And one of my friends, a guy I worked with at Sun, had started a web development firm. And he goes, Mitchell, do you know anything about SEO? Now, I'm really glad that we weren't on Zoom at the time and we were just on the telephone, because my jaw probably dropped. Oh, what are you kidding? SEO? I mean, this is in my mind. What are you kidding? SEO? But my response was, no, I don't know anything, but if you'd like me to learn, I will. And he goes, yes, we are so busy. There's so much going on. I can't put any of my team towards it, but I know you. So why don't you research SEO, come back, tell me what we should charge our clients and what you want to charge me. And so I said, all right, give me 2 weeks. Let's have a call, schedule the next call. I came back and I said, and by the way, in 1997, it was easy to research everything on the marketplace on SEO. That's not true today. And so I yeah. So I came back and I go, here's what we'll do. I'm going to charge you, or you can charge your clients 15,000 and I'll charge you 10. And we'll produce the results. And this is what we'll do. He goes, great. And within a week, we sold 5.
Nice.
And so what was interesting, let me close the story on the present. So I'm thinking, I'm still thinking, this is not really, I don't want to tell any of my friends this is what I'm doing, right? It turns out to do SEO well, and this is actually still true today, is if you ask somebody their 30-second pitch, within that pitch, they're going to say and repeat a keyword or a key phrase 2 or 3 times. Those pages, those words should have separate pages on your website and separate articles, separate things focused on it. And that's how you optimize people saying, if you type in a particular word, you're going to go to that location. And so when I asked all 5 people for their 30-second pitch, they all took about 10 minutes. I go, oh, interesting. 2 of them became strategic clients.
Yeah. People, if it takes you 10 minutes to say 30 seconds, that's not good. Very cool. That is an awesome story. Thank you. So give us the website again, just to make sure everybody's got it, because they may have got distracted by all the good stories.
Oh, sure. So it's just credibilitynation.com. And I think it's just the way it sounds. And should I share people how to reach out to me?
Yeah, absolutely. Please do.
So what happens is when you in business long enough, I've got too much of domains. I probably have 50, which are active. And I used to actually spout out all these different things you can do. So I want to give you one domain, which by the way, will allow you to easily get back to Credibility Nation as well. And that is my name. It's mitchellevy360.com. So it's MITCHELLLEVY 360.com. And when you get there, you'll be introduced to a video. So it's either a testimonial video. Now it's actually a video on why take the LinkedIn course. But you can connect me on social media. You can, if this is of interest to you, if you say, oh my God, I need a book with Mitchell, or I want to learn more, you can actually book time directly on my calendar. So that's mitchellevy360.com.
Nice. I love it. Awesome, peeps. And if for any reason you can't find all this stuff and you're driving, you want to find it, go to awarenessstrategies.com and we will have all of Mitchell's information there. You can search on his name, you can search on credibility or influence, and you will find him. Awesome. So any final words you'd like to share with our peeps?
I would say, I'll do it quickly. In terms of your credibility, the first thing you want to think about is how do you show up? When people Google your name, do you show up well? And if the answer is no, fix that. Second, what is your customer point of pain? Because when you're showing up, you want to make it clear. And if you do it in a concise way, guess what? Not only can people see you in terms of what you do and it reinforces your credibility, it also allows people to recommend you. And third, I know we're working hard and life is uniquely interesting. Just make sure you bundle fun into everything you do because it shows, it helps, and then people want to actually work with you, or a better way to say it, more people want to play with you.
Love it. That is awesome. Well, thank you again for your time, Mitchell. I appreciate it immensely. Peeps, you guys go and have an awesome week. This is Michelle Nedelec. Thank you for being here with us. If you know anyone who would make a great guest for the show, or if you have any questions or topics that you'd like me to discuss, please reach out to me at michelle@awarenessstrategies.com or connect with me on Facebook or LinkedIn, of course. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks and have a great week.
Thanks. Take care.
Thank you for listening to our show. I am all about being a resource center for entrepreneurs to give them the information and the support they need to make it in business. As such, I have Taking Your Business Digital Q&A every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Mountain. To register for that, go to awarenessstrategies.com/digital. That's DIGITAL. I look forward to meeting you and actually finding out how you are. So see you on the flip side.